A lot of you will be considering taking trips abroad because this is something that you haven't been able to do over the last couple of years because of the pandemic. And we thought that this is a good time to talk about travel insurance and everything that you need to know about it. It gives me pleasure to introduce my next guest, Amit Chavra, who is the head of health and travel insurance at policybazaar.com. Thank you so much, Amit, for taking the time. And let's start with the most basic concept, which is why would you need travel insurance, and what are the various aspects that you need to bear in mind when you are shopping for travel insurance?
Sure. I think first of all, as you said, right, it's great that life is coming back to normalcy and people are now looking back to travel internationally. I think, see, travel insurance is nothing but protecting you from uncertainties related to your trips. Now, it could be of a few kind. It could be uncertainty because of a trip delay that may happen because your flight got delayed, or you missed a flight or something like that. It may also happen because of external circumstances, like for example, there's a war right now going on, so that may some restrictions might come in and they may hamper your trip. The COVID is still there, while it's mild, but it's still there. So if there is a COVID infection, or there is something to do with a restriction that comes because of that, that could again hamper your plans. You could face some theft or something when you're traveling abroad. There could be a medical emergency. So multiple things can potentially happen when you're traveling, and all of these can be very, very expensive for you from a money perspective, because tickets are expensive, hotel bookings are expensive. So all of these can get addressed if you have the right travel insurance policy. It safeguards you against these uncertainties, and at the same time, it will provide you the right monetary cushion when you are abroad. So, like, I'll take a simple example here. Let's say if you're traveling somewhere outside India and you lose your passport. Now, in that scenario, you don't know what to do because you can't come back to India, you can't travel anywhere. You will need money at that time because you need to go to the embassy, to figure out how to get a passport replacement immediately. So all of that can be expensive and time consuming, and that's where your travel insurance comes in handy, and it gives you a certain amount in case you lose your passport. Similarly, if you get some medical emergency and you want to be hospitalized, the cost of hospitalization outside India can run into lakhs and lakhs of rupees very, very fast because it's expensive, right? Again, in such a scenario, typically your health insurance policy will be covering you for India, but not outside India. In that case, again, the travel insurance policy comes in as a lifesaver because it will help you get hospitalized and all the cost will be taken care of by the travel insurance policy. So multiple reasons, some medical, some process related, some exigencies, but travel insurance is your one-stop answer so that all your emergencies or anything that, anything misfortunate, unfortunate that happens, that at least from a money perspective gets addressed. Now, to your second question on what kind of a travel insurance policy should one shop for, I think again it depends very, very specific to one's needs. But essentially, what one is looking for is one, coverage for medical emergencies. That's one. So you must have adequate sum insured so that in case there's an emergency hospitalization needed, you have enough sum insured so that you can get hospitalized, get your treatment done at a comfortable and safe place, and then you can come back to India. Secondly, in case there is an exigency like a loss of passport or loss of baggage, or there's a flight delay, then in all of those scenarios, again, you are commercially, at least money wise, you have that cushion so that you can almost resume your travel plans without any disturbance. So I think these are the few things that you need to keep in mind when you're looking to buy a travel policy. I think it's a fairly simple purchase. It's not very complex. Products are easy and simple to buy. I think just keeping in mind the adequacy, the sum insured is important. Otherwise, it's a fairly simple and straightforward purchase that one must do when you're traveling abroad.
Amit, we were talking about travel insurance, and you mentioned that there is a component that deals with health emergencies when you're traveling abroad if you have this cover. But what does a buyer of such a policy need to bear in mind in terms of the quantum of cover that it provides?
Sure. So I think it's a function of a couple of things. One, if as a customer, do I have a pre-existing disease or not? Like, let's say if I am a heart patient, or I have diabetes or something, then the chances of something happening which leads to a large claim, or requires hospitalization of a large quantum, then I must take a larger sum insured. I think that's point one. And it's also to do with the kind of country I'm traveling to. So if, let's say, I'm traveling to say the US or the Europe, where hospitalization is very, very expensive, then again I would want to take a large hospitalization cover. Typically, the rule of thumb is to go for at least $100,000 of sum insured within your travel insurance policy, because that over the years has been found to be fairly adequate. But again, there are options which are low, which are like, let's say, $50,000 also, and there are options that go as high as $500,000 also. So it depends on your budget, how much do you want to spend. But the rule of thumb is that at least look for $100,000, especially if you are somebody who has a pre-existing disease or you're going to a really expensive country. Then make sure that you maximize your sum insured. Honestly, maximizing sum insured is probably 1,000 rupees extra. It's not a very, very large amount as well. So it's almost sort of a no-brainer that if you are going, have complete peace of mind and buy a fairly large enough hospitalization cover within your travel insurance policy.
What are the various reasons, Amit, why a claim would not be settled? What should a traveler be aware of when they are making a claim?
See, travel insurance claims are, to be honest, very straightforward, because it's a short-term policy. So all the terms and conditions are laid out very, very clearly. So a few things that a traveler must keep in mind. One, when you're buying your travel insurance policy, make sure that the dates, the passport number, etc., that you have entered is correct. You cannot buy a travel insurance policy, if you're already traveling abroad. That is very, very important. So make sure that you buy your travel insurance policy when you are in India, because at the time of claim, the visa stamping date and all is checked to ensure that you were in India when you bought the policy. So that is one very, very important condition to check. Second, I think it's also important to update your health conditions properly. So let's say, as I said earlier, if you have a pre-existing disease like, let's say, a heart problem or hypertension or diabetes, make sure that you call that out in the proposal form when you're buying the policy. That is important, because if you don't do that, then that comes under non-disclosure, and your claim may get rejected because of that as well. So I think it's all about truthfully declaring, if there's any medical condition, and making sure that you've entered all the details correctly. The third thing, and that's very important, I think also to understand for everybody, is to make sure that you understand the policy that you have bought. See, there are policies which are cheaper, there are policies which are expensive, there are policies which have which have very exhaustive coverage. There are also policies which have limitations as well. So for example, there may be policies which say that I don't cover your pre-existing disease at all, whereas there might be policies which say that we will cover pre-existing diseases up to, let's say, $10,000 of hospitalization. So one must know what kind of a policy that they're buying. I think this is also very important, because traditionally what we have seen is a lot of people, when they're booking the tickets, or when they're buying a policy online, or buying the airline ticket online, or let's say through a travel agent, a travel policy is just bundled in without even knowing what does that policy even have. So I think knowing that is very, very important. So just to give you a simple example, today on Policy Bazaar, if one comes to buy a travel insurance policy, almost 70% of the customers actually look at the features and benefits in detail before they end up buying the travel insurance policy. That versus, you just given something that this is your travel insurance policy. I think that's also a reason why a lot of claims get rejected. So very, very important for you that if you're traveling or planning to travel abroad, make sure that you do your thorough research before you buy a travel insurance policy, because it's not just a mere formality that's needed for a visa. It's actually something that comes in really, really handy in case there is a claim required. So I think these are the three things one needs to keep in mind while
Absolutely.
buying travel insurance policy.
Amit, I'm glad that you said that, and I'm glad we had this conversation, because I'm sure that a lot of people will benefit from it. Thank you so much for taking the time.